Australia is one of the most developed countries in the world. We have overcome coronavirus. We champion democracy. We enjoy the good things in life. Canberra, as part of our ongoing Australian story, is striding ahead, from average income to marriage equality to renewables and public infrastructure. We hold brilliant events like the Enlighten Festival in Florian. Surely we all remember we were the most livable city in the world in 2019. We are the 1% of the 1%. But as we blossom into a truly great city, do we want to become like so many others? Unneighbourly, uncompassionate, uncaring, splintered and solitary in the face of development and the disconnection that seems to come with it? Or will we fight to remember that society is what we make of it? You will now hear just a fraction of the stories from our fellow countrymen and women who have already fallen through the cracks. We have much to learn from them, from their incredible tales of survival through those darkest of alleyways, and as a gentle reminder of the humanity that we all share. Their stories are a symptom of a problem we've been grappling with for all of human history. But at what point of progress do we decide that homelessness, that most visceral and observable breach of the human rights we Canberrans claim to champion, has no place in our hometown? Anyone can experience homelessness. It's easy to assume the worst and believe the easy narrative, that many of those experiencing homelessness are there in some part by their own design. Unfortunately, the problem is not quite so simple. Drug and alcohol abuse and gambling addictions do not feature in the top 3 causes of homelessness. Domestic violence is the lead factor, at 24%, followed by financial difficulties and a lack of affordable housing at 20% and 16% respectively. Tonight, we strive to break from the shackles of stereotyping those experiencing homelessness. In doing so, we can come to view the homeless experience as it is: Canberra's most vulnerable people, relegated to an existence with less support than prison. Let's meet some of the people who have been on our streets. You may even recognise a few of them.
I'm Brett Cook. I've been on the streets now February last year now. Yeah, February last year. I had a government flat. I went to jail. When I come out, the flat was trashed. I said to them, no, I'm not moving back in there. So they gave me a flat next door, and I said, no, I'm not having it. And they said, well, you've got to have it, otherwise you have nothing. I said, fair enough, I'll take it, but I'm not living in it, because the people upstairs are ice addicts.
Hi, I'm Anthony, just doing this documentary about being homeless. Been homeless for the last 18 months. Up until just recently, I've now got a place. But being homeless, standing here on the last 18 months has been pretty bad. I don't want to do it again. I don't want to see any other people out there doing it. It's not a very nice thing for us Australians. Up until just recently, I've just got my housing commission. And now that I'm not homeless, I want to be able to help others.
So my name's Amy Blinksell. I don't go under Blinksell anymore, I go by Barrett. I was born in Queanbeyan. Spent most of my life there. I was sleeping on the streets on and off, you know what I mean, like in my car whenever I could, or in a tent. We love going out and helping all the homeless, you know, if they need a feed or if they need blankets, you know, as you can see here, like everything is here for them. The stigma of homelessness is very judgmental, because it can happen for any reason, you know, whether that be drugs or alcohol, whether that be you're living week by week in Canberra. It's the most expensive rental it's going in Australia right now. People are living week by week. It's only 1 week behind rent, which will make them homeless the next. You know, you could have everything and lose everything just like that. Unless you've been there yourself, have a bit of empathy for other people, you know. There's kids on the street, guys. You just don't see it, but it's there. You know, and my message to Canberra is just let's help keep them warm.
Nice to meet you. I'm Bo. Well, I'm Aboriginal, South American and English. and you know, I'm 16 and I've just been through a struggle week. Mainly couch surfing actually recently. It's been a bit easier because I had people that I'm staying with, you know, they've been through foster care too, so that was honestly a fluke and a half, man. Like, honestly, I don't know what I'd do without them.
The streets can be even darker than you expect. Even in Canberra, it is a dangerous world.
How safe did you feel while you were on the strip streets?
Not real safe, but having a car made it a little bit easier. You know, like a lot of others, they don't have cars, they sleep on the gutters or on bench sheets and in parks and that, which is not a real safe place, because I've seen so many things go wrong, like people getting bashed over having money.
I was sleeping over in Tuggeranong in a park, and I got woken up at about 3 in the morning by a couple of drunks just kicking the crap out of me because they thought it was fun. You know, I got a fat cheek and things like that, a black eye and that. I wasn't hurt or anything seriously, but just that it happens, you know, it makes you think, you know, it's just... I went bush after that for like weeks, and I never slept anywhere except like kilometres away from anything, all out in the bush. You know, I was sleeping with snakes and kangaroos and things like that, and I felt safer sleeping with them than I did, you know.
There was one instance I was over at the lake asleep at Belconnen, and long story short, a car pulled up and it was like a couple of drunk men or whatever, and they come banging on the window, get out of the car, get out of the car. And I kind of like woke up like freaking out, and then realised, and then I just kicked the boot open and grabbed the knife and just, yeah, you either have it in you or you don't. It's not in between, you know, because that's either a situation where you're going to get raped and murdered, or it's either them or you. And when you're on the streets, at the end of the day, you've got to think about you. You know what I mean? Everybody's vulnerable at the streets, but especially women. Women are more vulnerable, and they're getting younger and younger and younger, and it's so sad. Because they're very, very vulnerable.
True fear is a feeling many of us have forgotten. Some of us pay to go to the movies just to experience it. For those on the streets, fear is a constant reality. It should come as no surprise that poor health outcomes and homelessness are inextricably linked. Firstly, the physical. A lack of disposable income leading to nutritional deficiencies, difficulty in reaching medical assistance, and exposure to the bitter cold of Canberra's winter are just some of the contributing factors. Those experiencing homelessness have a greatly increased chance of chronic disease, musculoskeletal disorders, skin and foot problems, poor oral health, and infectious diseases like tuberculosis, hepatitis C, HIV infection, and, of course, COVID-19.
My health's declined heaps. I've lost 60 kilo. I've got a lung infection. I've got broken back. God, it goes on and on. I've got a blood clot in my left leg that goes from my ankle to my groin.
My health is up and down. I wasn't putting on weight, and then when I got on the methadone program about 12 months ago, I started putting on weight. I'm now up to 63 kilos. Before that, 3 months prior to that, I was only 59. Now I'm putting on a lot more weight, which is a lot better. Ever since I've been home, it's like it's a whole new life again.
They don't even have a code blue here in Canberra.
What's that, sorry?
Code blue is a code that when it gets too cold, you have to take homeless in. There's no doubt about it. So if they go into a shopping centre and they want to sleep there, it's code blue. They're allowed. They don't even have that here in Canberra, and it's the coldest climate in Australia. You know.
Secondly, the mental health repercussions of homelessness. Disconnection from society, a lack of social support, and the degrading nature of being overlooked and ignored every day of your life are a combination of factors that no one in Australia should have to go through.
But end of each day, I'm so exhausted just from sitting there trying to, keep keep myself from abusing somebody because the way they look at you, because they've got no idea what it's like to live this sort of life. People look down on you. Like, I'm trying, you know, I do my artwork. I don't expect nothing for nothing. I try and sell my art so I'm paying my way. But people still look down on you, you know, and it's so wrong just the way people look at you because you're homeless.
It affects you and your mentality, your person, you know, because you're always thinking, you're always worrying about something, you're always thinking, oh, well, where am I going to sleep tonight? Where's my next meal going to be? You know, how am I going to get this money? How am I, you know, going to figure out somewhere to stay? What do I need to do next? You know what I mean? You're always thinking about your moves like it's a game of chess, you know what I mean?
Like I said, it's all about survival out there. It's each day as it comes. You can't plan anything or anything like that. I mean, you have to be prepared to be able to pick your stuff up and move along. Like, you know, you've got to make sure you find shelter for the night if it's going to be, you know what I mean? You have to think of all these things, and then that affects your mental health. You know, that's even people that don't have mental health problems. That affects their mental health.
My mental health on the streets is up and down. I'm still seeing a psychologist now because of it. It was throwing me around a bit. Like, I was thinking of committing suicide, you know, and then I was having people talk me out of it, which was good. But that suicide thought was on my head constantly, you know, and it's like, why let it beat and, you know, stand your ground and just hope for the best and things might come my way, and things did come my way.
I met my lovely wife and son 5 years ago, and that was my turning point. That was when I was like, okay, I have a family now. You know, I felt like I belonged. You know, my mental health has been very, very good, but mind you, I've been clean from addiction for 6 years now. And it's the best decision that I could have made, you know, and if I didn't have these two out here, I wouldn't be here.
When we need to escape from the world, we can lock ourselves in our room and watch Netflix. People on the streets do not have the same luxury. Setting aside our prejudice, can we blame some of the homeless community for turning to drugs as an escape from these crushing circumstances?
Taking a gentleman to court after being molested in a boys' home 4 years of my life, I needed something to suppress my memory again, and I turned back to the heroin, and yeah, it's done its job. I'm still on the methadone program now. That's going really well. You know, I'm still mentally stressed over it. You know, there's not a day that I go by without thinking about it. I'm on very heavy antidepressants to help me sleep overnight, to suppress my memory, as well as the methadone. But yeah.
You know, I've battled with addictions on and off through my life. But I think I was on and off my medication with my mental health, and I think that was just medicating me, you know what I mean? So it was easier for me to just push everything aside. And I think it was just like a self-medicating thing. I'd rather just, you know, use drugs and, you know, think that everything's going to be okay the next day, and it's not the case.
What drove you to take illicit drugs in the first place?
Family. Loss of wife, loss of kids, lost my house, lost everything I own, pretty much. Yeah, I'm an alcoholic, but a non-practicing one. I haven't had a drink since 1997, you know, but I still class myself as an alcoholic. Yeah, I'm a drug addict too, but I'm not using drugs at the moment either. But, you know, people just look at you sitting there and they think, automatically you want the money for drugs, and it couldn't be further from the truth.
Canberra is outperforming the national average. 40 Canberrans out of every 10,000 are experiencing homelessness, compared to a national rate that is 20% higher. It's easy to look at these statistics and assume that the ACT is doing its bit. We're improving, and that's what matters. Yet this kind of thinking takes the urgency away from providing houses, an established basic human right, to the nearly 1,000 people still without a home in the ACT. In the meantime, there's This costs us morally and emotionally, as a clear injustice exists within our society. It also costs us economically. The economy naturally loses out on human capital, and the strain of homelessness to our crime and health systems is substantial. One recent Victorian report cost a rough sleeper at more than $25,000 per year. The report notes that emergency accommodation is only $12,000 for a bed, a dollar return of 140% for taxpayers. More than just creating beds, however, we must pay heed to the communities we build around them.
Since I got out of jail and I went back to that flat, I lost 70 kilos in like 4 weeks, just from stress. And so I put in transfer and everything for housing, and housing just don't seem to give two shits. No, I don't feel safe there at all. I've told housing that. I've got letters from my doctor backing me up. I've got a lung infection from the mould in the place there. I've got all sorts of health problems just from living there. You know, it's supposed to be a security lock-up place. The whole front door is missing. You know, first they took a strip off it, and now the whole front door's gone, so you can't even lock the front premises. I still hassle housing all the time. Like, I've still got the flat, I'm still paying rent on it, but I just can't live there.
I left home at about 14, sleeping like couch to couch or anything like that. And that was, up till about 17, I think it was. And then I got my own place actually in Queanbeyan, and I was 21, and it was at the Low Street Flats. And they're pretty rough flats in Queanbeyan, you know what I mean? Long story short, I lived there for about a year, and that's when, my life just went spiralling. You know, sometimes you can have everything you can have, and you can just lose it with an instant.
Social environment in public housing is pretty good. It depends on where you're housed. I had trouble with it was when I was renting through St. Vincent de Paul. I told them not to move this couple in. They moved them in anyway, and then come back to find out that they'd robbed me of everything, left me in my car, and yeah.
The flat they give me up there, it's supposed to be for 55s and over. ACT Housing started putting 30-year-olds and things like that in there, and drug dealers. When I first got that flat, it was beautiful. There was old people out all day, every day, doing their gardens and everything else. Now you don't see one of them.
I put into a retirement village, which is really good. It's nice and quiet, it's peaceful. My neighbours are really good. They don't annoy me, they don't, like, we say hello every morning, and that's all I want.
It is never so simple as going out and getting a job. The narrative of lifters and leaners is a way of thinking that never recognises the barriers that begin to stack one upon another.
At the present moment, I'm trying to get used to being in a place. Once I get settled, I'll start looking for a bit of work. Then again, having a criminal past too doesn't help. You know, like my criminal past, it should be left in the past. But because they do background checks, my major last thing that I ever done wrong was back in '99, and that was armed robbery, and that comes back and haunts me every time I go for a job. And so, yeah, try to keep clean.
Would you like to work?
I'd love to, but I just can't at the moment, you know, it's impossible. My criminal record, my criminal history, people say it doesn't matter, but it does. My health issues, my back, my blood clots, all that, no one's going to employ me.
I mean, life is what you make of it. And yeah, sometimes you can make mistakes of your own. I've made plenty. There's a lot of regrets I have in my life.
Maybe I'm a criminal, but I've got compassion. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm not a good criminal.
Each and every one of us, no matter our influence, knowledge, or personal wealth, have the individual power to do two things. Firstly, let's change our language. Use the term person experiencing homelessness instead of homeless person. Right there, we frame homelessness as something being done to someone, rather than because of them. Secondly, Let's have two conversations. Start to be the change in how our families and friends think about the homelessness issue, highlighting the vicious nature of the homelessness cycle, the health factors, the systemic factors. Challenge yourself to speak with someone experiencing homelessness. Buy them a coffee and have a seat with them. It might make their day. It could make yours.
You know, if people stopped and asked me and spoke to me, maybe they'd understand.
You have those people that want to listen or want to do an interview, or, you know, if you really want to get to know someone, talk to them. You know, if you really want to be compassionate, ask them how they are.
More people need to have more empathy.
You know, it's not going to break our backs to hand someone a blanket.
Show people that you do care.
You know, you don't got to go up and be like, oh, do you want me to take you out to dinner? I'll give you a 5-course meal.
I didn't stand here for the last 18 months saying hello to people every morning. I wouldn't be where I am now.
No one asks each other how they are enough. If people realise that, the world would be so much better.
All people are blank slates, engraved upon by our experiences within an environment thrust upon us. Many of us were handed slates with everything. Yet some of us, even in Canberra, never had the chance to flourish. Grasp that thought properly, with a personal vengeance against our own biases, and Canberra can break from the chains of elitism which so often bind other cities in Australia and around the world. Together, we can inspire a Canberra culture built on community, connection, and compassion. We must never forget that many of us are among the luckiest in the world. Our burden every day is to be worthy of this good fortune. Our task each day is to live with care and compassion for every member of our community.